Hello, it's Joel Sexton. Gonna do a different video today. Since I'm still a bit half snapped from last night, and since I got my Benzos into me, a good dose of them, prescription. They're not street drugs; they're prescription Benzos. And so they're that with me being half snapped, I'm pretty buzzed now. Which means I can actually do this video pretty much about I'm just gonna lay it all out there. My life, pretty much my life story, I guess you could say, as brief as possible. The struggles I have with bipolar, alcoholism, and pancreatitis, 5 times due to drinking, post-traumatic stress, from finding my father dead to suicide, benzo addiction, things like this. These are my daily struggles that other people go through, and other people are raising awareness to. Christy Sharp Sailor, Chris Stewart, who lives in my area, has a big group dealing with post-traumatic stress and mental illness. I'm just gonna lay out my fucking life story, man. Let's go. And I'm gonna be sporadic because I am buzzed out and still half snapped. I didn't plan on drinking last night, but when my uncle comes in with a bottle of vodka and a case of beer, well, the bottle of vodka, I do what I usually do, threw the cap in the corner because we don't need the cap anymore, and I downed that on him. I said, if you're gonna get me drinking when I didn't plan on drinking, I'm gonna fucking drink your booze. You stick to the beer. But anyway, yeah, here I'll start with the childhood, briefly with the childhood, because I blocked out most of my childhood. I was molested a few times by an older boy in school. Something I haven't shared with anyone really, maybe one person. One of my sisters, the oldest, next to me. That would be the only one I shared that with. Get that out of the way. I had severe behavioral problems in school, and it makes sense now. Kicked out of A.G. Bailey Elementary probably 20 times, in school and out of school. Junior high 20 times, then expelled from my last high school. So I like to say I don't even have a GED, let alone a PhD. You know, when people want to get smart with me, I don't even have grade 11. But childhood was kind of tough. Picked on because went to a school where there was a lot of what we'd call big wigs, big shots, and we came from the wrong side of the tracks. There's a few of us that weren't so fortunate, right? And so I learned to fight at a very young age because I had to. And then going home, taking beatings at home on a daily, toughened me up even more and making me the man I am now. So yeah, that was instilled in me at a very young age. But I blocked most of that bullshit out. Childhood, completely blocked it out. As I talked with the oldest out of my 4 sisters, they're all younger than me, but we're very close. And she was the only person I ever really mentioned that to, I think, and about being molested and whatnot. But I just blocked that shit out. We'll skip the childhood. I guess, and this leads to me being diagnosed with bipolar. The events leading up to that, I was diagnosed, I'm 34 now, I was diagnosed with bipolar, I think type 1, at age 32, 2 years ago. What happened was, I ended up in the next building. Actually, I was living with my father in the next building. I had my own apartment here. In the next building over, we were renting together a 2-bedroom. And I was completely hammered, drunk, and I said, you know what, I'm sick of this drinking, and I took like 3 months worth of my sleeper Seroquel, quetiapine, and taking 3 months of that with a quart of whiskey down in that, quart of whiskey into you already. He called the cops. The cops came. I guess I was passing out in the kitchen. They got me in. My heart stopped in the ambulance. My breathing stopped for a little over a minute. They said with over 20 seconds. Who was it, Doctor? I get him every time I'm in there. Doctor Cole, I think it was. Another 20 seconds. I would have been shitting in my pants. Would have been a vegetable. What do? I leave the hospital. I pull the catheter out, pull everything out. They had to call the cops. I got in a confrontation. One of the cops shoved me, and I threw him literally through one of the payphones almost. And the other cops stuck up for me, saying, "This guy just got out of a fucking coma. Don't lay your hands on him." And so the cops had to escort me back into the hospital, but I did get out, and I went on a good drunk, coming out of that coma. I was on anti-amnesia drugs. I was hallucinating. I thought my mother was there with $75,000 in a briefcase. I'm seeing snakes in that. And so that's the shape I'm in. And then I guess I ended up calling up a buddy of mine, or my uncle, saying, "I'm going to burn your house down, you motherfucker." And so he's worried. He knew I would probably do it, so he was pretty worried. Sleeping with one eye open, he said. And I did get out, and I went on a drunk, and 2 weeks later I'm back in the hospital with pancreatitis again. My pancreas was inflamed for the fifth time. It was 4 times before I hit 30. 5 times by 32, my pancreas was inflamed, and that's 2 week stays in the hospital with no eating. Naturally, a high metabolism, lean anyway. I would come out of there 20 pounds off, man. And if I was drinking heavy, I was skinny anyway. So, not eating for 2 weeks, very painful. The most painful thing you can experience, and getting scans and that done. And they told me one of the most painful things, pancreatitis. I had it 5 times, and the next time it could rupture. It could just rupture out, or I could have chronic pancreatitis or pancreatic cancer. Dr. Cole and Barkley and them told me. But like any piss tank, you don't give a fuck. You're worried about getting your next drunk in you, right? You don't give a fuck. And so that's a bit of the alcoholism. I won't bore you with that. It's been I started developing the taste in high school. I was always a pothead. Still do smoke pot today, as it helps with my bipolar and helps me stay off the sauce. But booze, I remember drinking vodka with a buddy of mine, Jason, in high school quite a bit. We'd be drinking vodka at his place, and I developed the taste for alcohol very rapidly. And by 18, I made my first trip to detox. I was a full-blown chronic alcoholic by 18. But yeah, that's that. And then what else do we have here? Yeah, me trying to take my own life. I tried to do it before, taking a bunch of Seroquel, a bunch of sleepers, but they're made for bipolar / sleepers. I was taking them for sleepers at the time. Then when I had bipolar, they told me, "Well, keep taking them. We'll keep prescribing them for you because they work with the lithium." I tried to do it years back as well. Down a couple bottles, but I only slept for a couple days. I was pretty disappointed waking up out of that. But see, my father was there to save me when my heart stopped, my breathing stopped, and I was fucked. It's only because of the Lord that I'm still here. In prayers. He saved me. He called 911, and he was there to save me. I was not there to save him. My father died of suicide March 30th of 2017 in the very next building from here. So we were very, very close. We were close for years. He influenced me more than any other person in my life. He's my hero. When it comes to bodybuilding, he instilled bodybuilding in me at a young age. Even the history of the sport he taught me, proper form, proper high intensity methods. Um, when it came to scripture, even though he was an Adventist and I got out of Adventism, and he got out of it eventually, but held on to a lot of their beliefs. My first exposure to scripture was through him. We both loved the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey team. We'd both watched the games together. Now I watched one game this year or 2 games, them playing the Bruins, because I can't watch the Leafs anymore, really, because I always watched them with my dad. I wasn't there to save him. He was slipping. I knew he was slipping. And him being a holistic herbalist, dead against medication, dead against hospitals, uh, naturally paranoid about the police. I didn't know what to do. He didn't want me to tell anyone in the family. He'd be over here. And then I learned after he died, he didn't eat for 2 weeks. So that's why he did what he did. He didn't eat or sleep for 2 weeks, and he decapitated his head. He cut his neck off. My mother was looking for me, and she thought I was over visiting my dad. They didn't live together or anything. They were divorced. She came over here. I was over here getting high with a buddy of mine, one of my sister's boyfriends, smoking a bit of weed, and my mom was ecstatic at the door, all worked up. And so I ran over my bare feet. I remember it was like yesterday, man. I'll never forget that day. And going in there, seeing the blood on the wall, and seeing, I thought he had a head wound because the way he was tilted over, I couldn't see his neck. But the coroners and that said his neck was completely decapitated. The blood, they had to cut the carpet out. Doug and Mike, the owners of these buildings, and I've seen when they cut it out, because Mike would get me in there to get some stuff of his out. I said, I don't want to go back in there, Mike. I'm not going back in that apartment. I mean, I'm not going back in there, man. And losing him, it's not just traumatic for me, but my sisters struggle as well. And I don't forget that. But with me seeing what I seen and seeing all of that blood, I mean, just covered the carpet. I thought someone shot him in the head, or he had a severe head wound. I couldn't see his neck the way he was positioned. And so I was in total shock. I guess I kept repeating, why did he do this? And then we found out, Sarah found out, he didn't eat and drink for 2 weeks. I guess that'll do it to you. If you don't eat and sleep for 2 weeks, that'll do it to you. And so right after that, I developed post-traumatic stress disorder where I'd have night terrors. Fucking night terrors, eh? They're not fun. They're not fucking fun. I wouldn't wish them. Maybe I would wish them on my worst enemy because I'm a fucking savage asshole. But they're not fun, man. You're dreaming, and I don't know how many hours or minutes, but you're repetitive dreaming of that scenery, finding your father dead with the blood on the hallway wall leading into the bedroom, and then all over the place, and seeing your father like that, dreaming that over and over, and you're waking up in a sweat, but it's a cold sweat. You're chilled to the bone, and then you're fucked up for a half hour or more after you get up. You're just totally fucked. I mean, fucked. I don't know how else to describe night terrors. I mean, that's night terrors. I only get them maybe once a week, if that, now, and I don't remember them. I don't dream about my father. Praise God, the Lord has taken that from me. And immediately after my father died, I ended up, I'll show it here if I can. I ended up getting, I don't know if you can see it there. Let's see if we can show this. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it down. That's my calf. I don't know if you can see that, can you? The redness there, it's not coming up too good. Probably because the screen's all bright. But right here, I got the first week. It's pretty noticeable here. It's not noticeable on the screen. Fuck. Stress-related eczema. Boom. right after all this shit happened, and I still have it. Stress-related eczema, I guess it is. I never had eczema in my life. So this, I mean, having bipolar, then P, PTSD, uh, you know, and then you have your own battles. I mean, with alcoholism, but I've been doing good the last few years. I had 9 months sobriety, and even after my dad passed, I had 6 months, I think, up until that point seven, and I lasted another two. Um, I knew my sisters would need me, not being fucked up and that. And so, I lasted 9 months and I screwed up. Then I lasted another 6 months and I screwed up. Now I lasted a month and I screwed up, last night. But that's not as much of an issue, but it can sneak up on me. But it's also benzo addiction is a big problem for me. And these are my prescription drugs, prescription benzos, prescription. Clonazepam. That's one of I take 4 scripts. But these I've been on for 8, 10 years, probably 10 years, been on the nerve pills. My old doctor, he would write scripts out for every junkie in town. He didn't give a flying fuck. And then he would ask you to go to church with him, and then he's supplying every junk. You'd see the same junkies there, man, getting their hydromorph and whatever else they're getting. And yeah, here's a script, nerve pills. And little did I know, there's a thing called a benzapine withdrawal syndrome. And benzo withdrawal is the worst pill to come off for withdrawal in the entire fucking world, man. It's worse than heroin. Heroin's a cakewalk, from what I've learned. 6 months it takes withdrawal. You have to go into a treatment place. So I'm chronically dependent on this because of withdrawal symptoms. Before 24 hours, I take my next dose, I start to sweat. I start to get chills. My hands start to shake. Then a couple days, I start hearing, things aren't going too good. You start, after a few days, I had to go to the hospital once because I went almost a week without him. I couldn't get a refill until I seen my doctor. And I hallucinated. Like, it was like, DTs. DTs. It was like an acid trip, man. Going in the hospital, had a bunch of mirrors with old ladies in all these mirrors. And the doctor's saying there's no withdrawal from benzos. I said, you ever hear of benzo withdrawal syndrome? Look it up in your fucking book. He gave me a Valium. Within an hour, I was fine, man. That's how bad the addiction to benzos are, man. That's how bad this addiction is. It's real bad. But I could tell you more. The fighting and fucking over the years. I'd rather fight and fuck than eat when I drink. I'm a fucking savage, man. I'm a savage in the gym. I'll outwork anyone. I'm a savage. I'm more proud to say I'm a savage in the gym, but when I'm drinking, I'm brutal, man. I put beatings on guys that I regret now. And of course, I took beatings. I've had many concussions. Push back knuckles. Even now, going to the gym, this thumb isn't right anymore. In here isn't right anymore. These knuckles will push back. So you want to dance, you're going to pay the fiddler, right? But yeah, that's my bullshit in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. And here I am preparing to do a debate, moderated debate, with one of the leading full preterist leaders and Pastor Michael Miano. But I'm confident we'll get through this and we'll get that done. We'll get that debate done. And I think it'll be lined up for 2 to 3 months from now. But research mode has to happen. But I just wanted to share, hey man, I'm half buzzed now, half snapped. I have a few nerve pills in me, a few benzos. I figured, what the hell? Lay it all out there. Childhood to now within 20 minutes. Just a nutshell, man. If I got into details, I mean, I could write a book, man. You know, the shit I pulled, and I'm not, you know, uh, if it wasn't for my family, my mother, my sister Beck, brother-in-law Lee, my other sister Sarah, brother-in-law Barn, I'd be fucked. That's all there is to it. And if it wasn't for the Lord sparing my life and get me focused more on the gospel last summer after I came off Travis Finley's podcast and we had that exchange, I said, I'm focusing more not on eschatology, I'm focusing on the gospel. And when I do focus on the cross of Christ and the gospel, um, things work out a lot better for me in my life. But I would still have these issues. I still will have bipolar for the rest of my life. I'll still battle alcoholism the rest of my life. I'll probably still battle benzo addiction the rest of my life. Post-traumatic stress. You know, so I have these issues. We all have demons. Some of us have more and severe demons, but we all have fucking demons. But my demons, like I say, are bipolar, alcoholism, pancreatitis from alcoholism, post-traumatic stress from finding my father decapitated, suicide, benzo and alcohol addiction. So for me to even function, is very difficult. That's why right after they diagnosed me with bipolar, and they seen that after the coma, I immediately went on a drunk and was back in with pancreatitis for the fifth time. They said, well, we got to get this guy checked out. This guy, something's not up, something's not right. So then they said, oh yeah, they had two different shrinks got to see to diagnose you, and they said, yeah, you, plus the family history. My grandfather had it, uncles have it, cousin bipolar. So most definitely have it, but yeah, these are daily issues I have to work through just to function. And so I was put on unemployment. I was used to working, you know, most of my life from 18. As soon as I moved out at 17, 18, got my first job at Walmart, but it was a job, man, you know, my first place. And now that I can't work, I don't like that, you know, because most days I can't function. So a lot of days I can't. I can get a lot of reading in. Some days I can't get any in. You know, I got a stack here, a few commentaries on Romans, and I'm reading Douglas Moo's uh, ebook on Romans, which I think is the best commentary on Romans. So I'm just working through a section on Romans there. But yeah, that's the end of it. That's my life story within a nutshell.